In 1996, Ms. Brelinsky earned an engineering degree from Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute in Troy, New York, and her MBA from UH Clear Lake in 2000. She serves on several boards of directors, including Atlas Scholars, DK Energy, the Gulf Coast Power, and the University of Houston's Energy Advisory Board. I am pleased to welcome our very accomplished alumna, Marianne Brelinsky.
Thank you, President Blake, faculty and staff. To the graduates, 18 years and 11 days ago, I was sitting right where you're sitting now. And I know that sounds like a really long time, and for some of you it's practically a lifetime, but it goes by in the blink of an eye, so pay attention. So 18 years ago I was here. My parents, my husband, and my grandmother were watching from the risers. I remember a lot from that day, but for the life of me, I cannot remember who gave us our commencement speech. And it's that single fact that gave me the courage to get up here and do yours today. So over the last several weeks, I've been researching how to give the perfect commencement address. 3 themes repeatedly came up. Number 1, keep it brief. Number 2, make it personal. And number 3, give some advice that the graduates might find helpful. As far as I'm concerned, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. One of the things, very similar to Michaela, that I love about the University of Houston Clear Lake is the diverse backgrounds of our students and our alumni. When I walked into taking classes here, I was so surprised by the diversity of my classmates. We came from all walks of life, ages, and races. We were a cornucopia of energetic sponges ready to soak up everything that was presented to us. Equally diverse were the unique paths that each of us took to find our place on campus. So like you, my U of H Clear Lake journey is unique, and it helped shape me into the leader that I am today. And since this is your lucky day, I'm going to tell you about it. After finishing my undergraduate degree in engineering, I moved from a tiny town in upstate New York to Houston. The first time I stepped off the plane at Hobby Airport, I expected to see cactus and tumbleweed. I was shocked to see palm trees and green grass. I had moved to Houston to start my first full-time job with Exxon. I was excited, scared, pretty overwhelmed, and I had been on the job for a full week when my grandmother called me. And I know what you're thinking, how sweet, Gram called to check in. Well, let me tell you, Gram was sweet, but she was also a rock star. A little background for context, my maternal grandmother was a high school teacher during World War II. When my grandfather, a very young Marine, came back from serving in the South Pacific, he was put in my grandmother's high school class to finish his diploma. They immediately fell in love, got married, and had 9 children. When the youngest was school age, my grandmother told her family that she was going back to school. So in between raising children and grandchildren and teaching high school classes by day, she started taking night classes. She first finished her master's in chemistry and then her master's in physics. And at the age of 68 years old, she finished her PhD in nuclear physics. Her thesis was on nuclear particle acceleration theory. She also did normal things like most grandmothers do. She knit and she baked, but like President Blake mentioned, she liked to rebuild laptops. She kept litmus paper in her jewelry box. So back to my path to get here to U of H. 1 week under my belt, and I'm working as an engineer at Exxon, and Gram calls. This was the mid-90s when most people were not yet surfing the World Wide Web, which my kids tell me we don't call it that anymore. Gram was on Exxon's website and had looked at the employee benefits page. She said, "Do you know Exxon pays full tuition reimbursement? They'll even pay for your books. Why haven't you signed up yet?" I'm pretty sure I said something like, Graham, I'm still unpacking boxes, and I would get lost, trying to find the grocery store. But I immediately went to, well, where would I go? What would I study? How would I make all that happen? Well, Graham was very persistent, and she never asked a question that she didn't already know the answer to. Naturally, she had everything figured out before she called me that day. U of H Clear Lake was exactly halfway between work and my apartment. We agreed that I could wait until the fall to enroll at UHCL, and when I say we, I mean she. It was my grandmother's appetite for learning and her encouragement that was the activation energy that started me on my postgraduate path here at U of H Clear Lake. I realized not everybody's grandmother's got a PhD in nuclear physics. So my gift to you, class of 2018, is to share with you 3 life lessons that I learned from my remarkable grandmother, lessons that I still carry with me today. The first is relationships matter. Your network is the most important asset that you have, and I do not mean AT&T or Verizon. I mean your human network, your family, your friends, your business colleagues. My grandmother appreciated the value of a close-knit tribe. Graham spent her honeymoon in the Adirondack Mountains, and every year for the rest of Graham's life, until the ripe old age of 91, she spent an entire week in those mountains with her people. Camping is normally in the middle of July, after the lake has had a chance to warm up, but before the black flies arrive en masse. And each summer, about 50 or so of us make the trek up to the Adirondack Mountains to spend time with Graham. And this is real camping, by the way. It's not glamping. There's no electricity. The bathrooms are communal. And it is still one of the few places on the planet where there is no Wi-Fi or cell service. And as harsh as that might sound, for my well-traveled teenage boys, it is their favorite week of the year. Our tech-savvy grandmother taught us it's easier to build strong relationships when you are not glued to your phone screen or distracted with how many unread emails you have in your inbox. She would love to say, live in the moment and put down your phone. Strong relationships need to be built and then fostered, or they dry up and wither away. My grandmother instilled the importance of family time, quality time, to help build those relationships. In 2007, Lehman Brothers, you may have heard of them, bought the startup energy company I was working at. As we were being onboarded, we were given the list of the Lehman rules. One of those rules were no vacations in July or August because of the volatility of the electricity market. Without flinching, I walked up to my brand new managing director and told him that this vacation rule was a deal killer for me. I was prepared to stand my ground. It was that important. I was not going to miss the annual family campout. Clearly, he could see my resolve and said, have a great time camping with Graham. See you when you get back. Relationships matter, and they are only as strong as the time, effort, and commitment that you put in to grow them. The second piece of advice that I would like to share is words matter. A few years ago, during the Super Bowl, Always, the feminine hygiene company, ran a very powerful commercial during the Super Bowl. This particular commercial asked teenage boys and teenage girls to act out what it's like to run like a girl or to throw a ball like a girl. If you didn't see the commercial, I'm pretty sure you can imagine the stereotypical depictions that were caught on film. But then something truly magical happened. They asked 6- and 7-year-old girls to show what it was like to run like a girl or to throw a ball like a girl. The contrast was overwhelming. When asked to run like a girl, the young girls ran like they were training for the Olympics. They pretended to throw the ball like a major leaguer. They were not limited by the idea of being a girl, but in fact were exhilarated by it. My grandmother lived her life responding to what a girl could do with confidence. She ran our family in the same vein. In our family, words like a girl, are a badge of honor. My female cousins are doctors, chemists, geologists, programmers, and biomedical engineers. Honestly, I often feel like one of the underachievers in the family. It never occurred to us that careers in engineering or computer science were considered masculine. Words like centripetal force and motherboards and exothermic reactions were very common in my grandmother's kitchen. Stereotypical phrases and cliches were not. We did not have blonde moments, and boys did not get away with bad behavior because boys will be boys. It was not until college that I realized how truly unique my experience was and that words do matter. The last bit of advice I would like to leave you is, you matter. The night before my high school graduation, I was sitting in my grandmother's kitchen, trying to write my salutatorian speech. I was stuck and I was looking for inspiration, and Gram started talking about human brains and their potential. She went into her library and brought out a book written by Robert Fulghum, the author of Everything I Needed to Know I Learned in Kindergarten. And she told me, read this. It was an excerpt about Einstein's brain, which is somewhere in Maryland in a jar right now. His brain was removed and studied to see if it was unique in some way. It wasn't. His brain was quite normal, but what he did with it was special. When Albert was in residence at Princeton, a guest asked to be shown Einstein's laboratory. The great man smiled, held up his fountain pen, and pointed to his head. It is not our equipment that makes us special, it is what we choose to do with it. I often get asked for career advice, sometimes from people I know, and sometimes from total strangers. I get asked what I think they should do next, or what they should be working towards in their current role. They want a mentor or someone to help make a decision for them. My response is always the same. What do you want to do? What gets you excited to get out of bed in the morning? You have to be honest with yourself. What do you excel at? What are your talents? No one will be a better advocate for your career than you will. No one will have a better idea how to achieve your dreams than you will. And no one but you truly understands what will spark the drive that leads you to achieve greatness. Trust your gut, believe in yourself, and have faith. You matter. So remember, relationships matter. Make time to grow them and put down your phone. Words matter. Be careful with how you use them. And you matter. You have what it takes to make a lasting mark on our world. You are as unique as the path that brought you to U of H Clear Lake. You matter, and how you choose to use these talents and knowledge that you have gained here are limited only by what you believe you can achieve. Thank you.